Have you ever wondered why everyone talks about economic growth like it's the holy grail? I mean, why does the economy even have to grow? Isn't there a point where enough is enough? If you clicked on this video thinking I'd just explain how economic growth helps big businesses or governments, then you're in for a surprise. Because the truth is, economic growth isn't just about Wall Street. It's about you, the individual. It's about the moment you say, I wish my life were just a little bit easier. Because that moment, that desire, is what economic growth begins with. So today I'll show you in 4 points what economic growth means to the average citizen and why the thrive for economic growth is not only helpful, but actually necessary. So let's be real for a second. If we talk about growth, we also have to talk about what it costs. Growth isn't free. The more we produce, the more energy we use. More factories, more transport, more stuff. It all adds up. And that often means more pollution, more waste, and just more pressure on the planet. And when the benefits of growth aren't shared fairly, it can of course also lead to growing inequality. You've probably felt this in small ways. Maybe you noticed your city getting noisier, or the summers getting hotter, or maybe also rents rising faster than wages in certain areas. These things aren't just side effects. They're pretty much signals. Signals that growing the economy without thinking about how we grow the economy can actually backfire on our quality of life. But even these worries come from the same place as our desire for growth. We all want a better life. We're just worried about climate change because it threatens our food, our homes, and our comfort. We want decent pay because we want dignity and freedom. And that is the growth instinct. So yes, growth can cause problems, but the reason we care about those problems is the same reason we pursue growth in the first place. We want life to be better for ourselves and for the people around us. And that's why the next part matters so much. Think about this. Since the beginning of life, humans have looked for ways to make life easier. Thousands of years ago, it meant making fire or inventing the wheel, and nowadays it might mean working from home or ordering food online. They're different tools, but it's the same drive. No matter where you live or how much you earn, there's this quiet, constant instinct, how can I make my life a little better? And when millions or billions of people ask that question, what you get at the bigger scale is economic growth. You see this everywhere. In rural areas, families save up to buy their first fridge. In cities, people study, switch jobs, and build businesses so they can afford more comfort, security, or time. Even inventions like solar panels or cheap medicine didn't appear from thin air. These things come from someone, somewhere, trying to solve a problem or make life a little bit better. And so do you actually. Maybe you're learning a new skill right now, or you're chasing a promotion, or you're trying to build something on the side. That is not just personal development, that's the fuel for economic growth. This is why economic growth isn't just about Wall Street and GDPs and politics. It's the collective story of millions or billions of people trying to improve their everyday lives altogether. And it's also the reason why growth happens across every continent, every system, every culture. Because deep down, we're all trying to thrive, not just survive. Okay, but wait. If everyone wants a better life, why do some countries then have shrinking economies? That is a great question, and it proves just how important the conditions around us are. Sometimes people are blocked from making progress. Wars, corruption, bad infrastructure, lack of education, bad laws. These things don't kill ambition, but they make this ambition almost impossible to be turned into action. It's like planting a seed in dry, cracked soil. The drive to grow is still there, but it just has nowhere to go. I've seen this firsthand in some countries that I traveled to. People with incredible ideas and strong work ethic, but the system around them just doesn't support progress. So the economy shrinks, not because people don't want a better life, but the barriers around them are too heavy. That's why growth isn't automatic. It's natural to want progress, but you still need the right environment to flourish. So if you've ever tried to earn a bit more, or live a better life, or give your kids a better shot, that's not selfish. That is the human engine of progress. But of course, it's not just personal ambition. When we zoom out a bit, we see that entire countries need growth to stay stable, healthy, and fair. At first glance, a stable economy sounds amazing, right? No inflation, no collapse, just everything running smoothly. But the problem is, the world doesn't stay still. People age, new generations enter the workforce, technology evolves, costs go up, people invent new things. And when the economy stays the same size while everything else is moving forward, that stability turns into stagnation. Let's say the economy produces the exact same amount every year. That might sound fine, but what happens when more people retire and need pensions? Or when a new generation needs education and jobs? Or when healthcare costs rise as people live longer? If the whole pie doesn't grow over time, you're left slicing thinner and thinner pieces. That means cuts, higher taxes, or unmet needs, so a growing population without a growing economy becomes a pressure cooker. And this all sounds very theoretical, but we already see it in aging countries like Germany or Japan, for example. More people retire, we have fewer workers, and we see more and more pressure on the system that has to do more with less. This is why we talk about growth, not just functioning. A stable economy might keep the lights on, but a growing economy gives us room to breathe. It allows governments to fund pensions without cutting schools, and it lets companies hire without slashing wages. And also it creates new industries that absorb the changing needs. So in short, in a fast-moving world, standing still isn't neutral, it's falling behind. And growth is how we keep up. So yes, a functioning economy is the foundation, but without growth, that foundation starts to crack. There's a popular idea floating around that economic growth is just about greed, about people wanting more stuff. But that's kind of missing the point, because growth isn't driven by greed. It's driven by something far more universal, a desire for a better life. Think about your own life. Maybe you want to learn a new skill, or live somewhere nicer, or earn more money, or take better care of your family. Maybe you'd love more free time, better healthcare, or just a bit more security. Everyone has a goal that's just a little out of their reach, but can or could be achieved with a little more effort. And that's not greed, that's normal, that's human. And it's not just you. Across countries, ages, and cultures, people want different things, but the pattern is always the same. One person might dream of peace and quiet in the countryside, and another person might have a passion for technology and might want a smart home and a Tesla. But both of them are driven by the same thing, the hope that tomorrow can be better than today. There is a small contrary perspective though. Some people argue that we should all consume less, live simpler and slower lives to protect the planet. And for a small group of people, that's actually a choice. People who practice voluntary simplicity, living with less on purpose, often report higher happiness, less stress, and a higher life satisfaction. But the thing is, this group is very small and often privileged. They tend to have financial security, education, and stable healthcare, so they're not cutting back out of need, but out of preference. At the same time, most people in wealthy countries aren't exactly lining up to downside. Studies show that while minimalism is trendy in some circles, the majority of people still value convenience, comfort, and progress. In the US, for example, around 65% said they have no interest in simplifying their lifestyle or reducing consumptions, even if they could afford to. And again, that's not because they're selfish, that's because for most of us, quality of life matters more than shrinking the economy on purpose. Now let's zoom out globally. For billions of people in low-income countries, the idea of simplifying their lifestyle and consuming less isn't peaceful or noble. It's actually already their daily reality. Many people around the world still lack clean water, electricity, reliable transport, and access to medicine. For them, economic growth isn't about luxury, it's about survival. Telling them to scale back is like telling someone to stop climbing a ladder they've barely stepped on. So yes, some people can live happily with less, but most people won't voluntarily make life harder just to shrink the economy. And for a big part of the world, that idea isn't just unrealistic, it's also unfair. So economic growth is just what happens when millions or billions of people around the world pursue that hope of a better life at the same time. It's not a machine out of control, it's the result of human nature playing out on a large scale. So instead of seeing growth as greed, maybe we should start seeing it for what it really is, a reflection of our shared instinct to make life easier, safer, and more meaningful. And when you understand that, you'll realize that growth isn't just about economics, it's about people, and it's a story you're already a big part of. So we started the video asking why the economy always has to grow, and I hope by now the answer feels different than when we started. Growth isn't some abstract number. It's not just about government budgets or business profits. It's about individual people like you and me. It's the instinct to move forward, to do better, to provide more safety, more comfort, more convenience for ourselves, for our families, and also for strangers we'll never meet. We saw how growth powers everything from job creations to pensions to innovation. We saw how in a changing world, standing still means falling behind, and we saw how, even with its downside, growth is what makes it possible to solve problems at scale. And most importantly, we reframe growth not as greed, but as a reflection of human nature, a collective effort to make life more livable, more meaningful, and more free. So if you've ever wondered whether economic growth really matters, the answer is yes, because behind every percentage point of GDP is someone trying to make their life a little bit better. If this video gave you a new way to think about economic growth, hit like and subscribe for more. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.